Three former fraternity members at the University of Virginia filing a lawsuit against Rolling Stone magazine over a widely discredited and now retracted article detailing an alleged rape on the campus. The lawsuit includes claims of defamation and emotional distress. That article that was published last fall described a gang rape on campus, and although it never listed the names of these young men, they claim that family and friends and the general public will know it's them. Joining me now, defense attorney and former prosecutor Anna Yum and trial attorney Rebecca LeGrand. It's great to have you both here. Rebecca, you say the names are really key to this case and may make this an uphill climb for these young men. Why do you think that?
Well, what the students have to show to win a defamation suit is that Rolling Stone's got the fact wrong, that they were negligent in getting those facts wrong, that they didn't do things that a reasonable journalist should have done to make sure the facts were right, and that these specific students were hurt as a result. Those first two things are pretty easy for the students here because Rolling Stone has admitted that they screwed up and that the facts were wrong. But Rolling Stone never named the students, never used the actual names of the students who are bringing suit. So the students have to show that this isn't just some generalized, the university was embarrassed, that they personally were defamed in that article. And that's the trickiest part for them. But they have some pretty specific facts that go to that. These kids' names were used on other blogs in the public. There are reasons that they were out there in the public as a result of this story, and that they can argue and have that they were really hurt.
In fact, Anna, I went and Googled some of the names this morning. We're choosing not to use them, but if you Google these names, it comes up now. Those names come up in relation to the suit now. So even if you weren't aware of these young men before, now you are aware, and I'm wondering how that adds into the case.
Absolutely, Jenna. Look, words matter. I mean, this is a classic example of investigative journalism without the investigation. I mean, in the legal world, there's an expression, due diligence, which inevitably applies to journalism. You have to do your fact-checking. You have to do your investigation. If a prosecutor came up to me and said, your client's guilty, plead him out, and I didn't do any investigation or fact-checking, that's malpractice. That's analogous here. And to your point, Jenna, these kids, I mean, they're graduates now,
sure,
but they're saying that based upon the description in the article, that people could infer that these were the people that the alleged victim was attacking, that they were saying that she was being victimized by. These young men, their lives are arguably ruined forever, and if they can prove that their reputation was harmed and that they suffered some sort of financial harm as a result of it, they might have a case here.
It is a horrible allegation, and now we know, Rebecca, that it isn't true, and I want to get to that in a moment, but I have another question because the dean, the associate dean that was named in this article, also is filing a suit against Rolling Stone magazine, and they just recently responded to that suit saying that they don't believe that there's libel against her because it was unintentional. They were reporting the story. They did not go forward with malice. They weren't trying to defame her. They were just stating the facts as they knew it, and they even had fact checkers, they said, that helped support their claim that they weren't going after her directly. She's suing them for $7.5 million. Can that same argument be used here against these young men when Rolling Stone says, well, listen, it wasn't intentional?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, Rolling Stone is now fighting against two different suits, one by the associate dean and this new suit that was just brought by the students. And they've answered the case. The suit by the associate dean is farther along. Rolling Stone has filed an answer, so they've at least initially denied things. And they may well do the same thing here. There are different facts. The factual allegations are more defamatory, are more clearly false about what Phi-Psi students did at UVA. So in those ways, the claims by the students are stronger. But on the flip side of it, as you said, the associate dean's name was used, and these students weren't.
And her photo, by the way, her photo was also doctored in this article. So, you know, Anna, I'm curious about this part, though, as well, as we get to who was named in the article and who isn't. We, as well, as a news organization, do not name victims. The victim, the alleged victim in this story, is a woman by the name of Jackie. We don't know who she is. But again, not knowing who she is and not knowing who actually had these claims against the fraternity, I'm wondering how that plays into the story as well. We never would want to, quote unquote, out a victim, but the police say that she's not a victim. Does she hold some responsibility, as well as Rolling Stone, for the defamation against, the alleged defamation against these young men?
You know, I would think that she would hold some responsibility, especially if the facts are not checking out, especially if there's no merit and there's no factual background to support her allegations. You would think that she should hold some sort of responsibility. But the alleged victim in this case is asserting whatever happened to her to be factual. She's saying that these things happened despite the lack of corroboration and despite the lack of factual evidence. So I think it might be difficult to bring her in the mix in terms of the lawsuit regarding defamation, but certainly there should be some sort of accountability in terms of fact-checking as opposed to merely pointing your finger without any corroboration to support that.
And just really quickly on Rebecca, if this young woman still, despite the police, despite the university, despite her friends saying her account is wrong, if she still believes that this happened to her, then does Rolling Stone not have the same culpability? Because they're still quoting someone who believes that this is what transpired.
Rolling Stone had a duty to separately investigate the facts they reported. So no, I don't think that answers things for Rolling Stone. But I think, as we were just talking about, this really does get to what's so difficult about these cases. The young men, to get compensation for their harm, they have to come forward and use their names. They have to now put themselves out there to bring this suit and try to get compensation. And that's a horrible situation for these kids. And it happens. It happens all the time. And we see it in our firm.
Now their names are out there again. They're asking for $75,000 for each count. They have 3 different counts, which is interesting. That dollar amount that they came up with, again, the associate dean is asking for $7.5 million. So we'll see where this case goes. Rebecca and Anna, great to have you both. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jenna.
We will keep an eye on that.